What up, Battle? Old 64 here. Thanks for stopping by my shop again. Today, we're going to bleed the brakes on the 71 Oldsmobile 98. If you have a classic General Motors car with front disc and rear drum, and you can't bleed the rear brakes, this is what you have to do to make sure it bleeds properly. I'm going to show you how to bleed the master cylinder on the vehicle. I'm also going to show you how to make sure that your proportioning valve isn't stuck. Because if your proportioning valve gets stuck, it'll shut off the front or the rear circuit of your brakes. Let's go ahead and get to it. Hopefully that's doing something besides making a mess. You can see just the end right here of the driver's side glass pack. And those are thrush glass packs. I think 2.5 inches in, 2.5 inches out, and 45 inches long. You can't even buy them anymore. And I think it's a little bit too aggressive. Eventually I want to change the tone of my 71, but I'll definitely keep these glass packs. I don't know, maybe I can put them on my bullnose truck. Then again, maybe they're a little bit too small for a diesel. There, I'll just dump this brake fluid on this piece of cardboard back here. It's covered in transmission fluid anyways. I'm spinning my wheels, Battle. Spinning them, spinning them. All right, Battle. I've been messing around with the emergency brake and couldn't get it figured out. And then I was messing around with the rear brake hose and couldn't get it figured out. So we'll go ahead and bleed the brakes and go from there. Maybe I can get this car back on the road instead of just sitting. That's its favorite pastime. Besides getting a ride on the back of a flatback wrecker when it breaks down. So anyways. Alright, I had tried to bleed the brakes this weekend and I could bleed the ones in front, but the rear brakes were not bleeding. And I did some reading on the forums, and apparently that can be due to the master cylinder not having been bled, which I did the previous video of bleeding the master cylinder, but apparently what I should have done is I should have replaced the brake hoses first and then bled the master cylinder and put it on, and then I would have been able to bleed the brakes properly. So I'm going to get help from my daughter, Silly64, and she's going to depress the brake pedal for me. So go ahead and pump the brakes 5 times and then hold it down, please, Silly. And it fell a little bit, correct? I'm going to check the level. I was so meticulous painting the top of the master cylinder. I need to touch it up with a brush. We've lost a little bit of fluid, so I'll push the bellows back in. Got my .3 brake fluid. Never mix the 3, 4, and 5. You'll never use 4 or 5 on a classic Detroit iron car. Almost there, Battle. All right. Thank you, Silly64. I'm going to go ahead and check the level in our master cylinder. There's the proportioning valve, Battle. Crammed between the frame and the header on the driver's side, underneath the master cylinder and vacuum booster. You can see the oil level dipstick. You can also see the cables at the back and the header. That's the button you press. So, Battle, Silly64 is going to help me again. I am going to depress the activation button on the proportioning valve, and she's going to pump the brakes. So hopefully we get some bleeding action here. We're at the passenger's rear slave cylinder. So let's cross our fingers. All right, go ahead. 3 times.
1, 2, 3.
And let go. All right, Battle, that was successful on the passenger's rear. So now we're here on the driver's rear, and Silly 64 is still helping me. And we'll go ahead and bleed the brakes. I'm going to depress the activation valve on the proportioning valve. Go ahead and adjust the angle for you a little bit, Battle. All right, Silly. Go ahead and do it 3 times, please.
Okay. 1, 2.
We're here on the passenger side front, and I have the bleeding device set up on the bleeder screw. Silly 64 is still going to help me out. I'm going to press down on the proportioning valve activation button, and we're going to bleed these brakes. Stand by. 3 times, please.
1, 2, 3.
Excellent. The driver's side front, this is the last caliper we have to bleed. Silly 64 is still behind the wheel helping me, and I am still going to depress the button on the proportioning valve. There we go. Tight. Nice and tight. And for some reason this one's not cooperating. 3 again. There we go. 2, 3.
2, 3.
Well, there it is, Battle. You saw how to get the rear brakes to bleed on your classic General Motors car that's front disc and rear drum. Make sure the master cylinder's bled properly, and make sure you do a 2-man job with somebody to hold down the activation switch. I'll give you the part number down below, and I looked for it recently. It's a General Motors tool that allows you to depress the activation switch, but it is about $150 plus online right now. You know, sometimes those tool manufacturers redesign the tool, or they re-release it, and then you can buy it at your auto parts store reasonably. But I think this tool is pretty necessary for the job, or else get help from a battle buddy, and make sure you bring a 6-pack. Since it was Silly 64 that helped me out, I'm going to go ahead and get cleaned up, and I think I'm going to take her out to dinner. Well, Battle, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Do you bleed brakes farthest slave cylinder to the master cylinder? Or do you bleed brakes from the master cylinder to the farthest slave cylinder? Let me know. See you next time, Battle. Shh. Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting proportioning valve activation.